Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And GUNLAKE Quarries. Due to our global circumstances out of our control, over the next several weeks I've decided to bring you some best-ofs from the past. And you're about to see the first one on this week's episode of Classic Restos. Time now to wind the clock back a few years to Series 33, as I take you to the Pacific Bus Museum near San Francisco. I've got a bus driver's license, but I've never driven a bus. What an incredible opportunity. I've got to say one thing about travelling with Mark every year to the United States of America. It's the mystery, because you don't know what Mark's going to come out with next in terms of where we're going to go or what we're going to film. We were heading west one particular year to California, and Mark suggested that we go to this bus museum and film that. I thought, a bus museum? I've never filmed a bus museum before. That sounds pretty cool. And it was one of the best things we ever did. The bunch of guys there were absolutely fantastic. And Ron, the main curator, he was just a really nice guy, even to the point where around about halfway through the day, he said, "Fletch, go and drive that bus." So I had a great opportunity to drive a bus around some of the streets of Freemont, not far from San Fran. How about the humble bus? We all remember them as kids, and some of us still take a bus. But we always put it back when we're finished with it, right? Once upon a time, buses were built with class, particularly the higher-end models. Classic buses, well, in my opinion, they're like classic cars. Some had shape, most had some shiny bright work, they sounded great, they just stood out. And now it's time for me to show you some. Welcome to the Pacific Bus Museum here in Fremont, California. What about a classic bus? How cool are they? Makes you wonder, these taken-for-granted modes of transport were responsible for taking countless millions of people from A to B over many years. Like interstate truckers, these road warriors battled all conditions: freezing cold, searing heat, running 24/7, and if asphalt was the enemy, these weapons ate them up mile after mile, decade after decade. The Pacific Bus Museum is an organisation of bus enthusiasts, mostly retired guys, based in Northern California, dedicated to honouring the history of this unique form of transportation. The incredible bus collection comprises over 20 coaches, both city transport and intercity types, encompassing eras from the 1930s up to modern times, and is focused on, but not limited to, California and the Western United States. The Pacific Bus Museum is also a rolling museum. They welcome invitations to events in Northern California where the buses can be displayed. Their mission here at Pacific Bus is to preserve, restore and operate the historic buses, and to showcase the acquisition and collection of bus artefacts and memorabilia for the education, appreciation and enjoyment to the public. The Pacific Buses Museum's aim is to preserve yesterday for tomorrow. Even a classic bus is now in the spotlight. How cool is that? Well, I think classic buses are amazing. They also hold the key for unlocking some incredible history. And to tell us more, here's Ron.
Good morning, Fletch. Welcome to the Pacific Bus Museum. We're glad you came today to see our buses.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Ron. My pleasure. There's something about classic buses.
I agree. I have a fondness for them, and I'm hoping that there's other people that appreciate these wonderful vehicles the way I do.
Ron, I think that's very important. These buses are being preserved. They're out of the weather. They're inside. It's great that you've got this depot here. And I mean, with the price of real estate around the San Francisco area, I mean, goodness me. I mean, I think you've done well.
Yes, we've been quite fortunate to have this facility here where we can keep 10 buses under cover and also do some minor repairs and maintenance to them. In fact, that's what some of the other volunteers are doing here today.
Well, speaking of which, the bus behind us, got to love this, 1945. Can you believe that a product can look so good, really? I mean, we're talking a bus. It's a special appreciation now in 2016. Before we go any further, what engine has this got? Because when it pulled up, it sounds unbelievable.
Okay, General Motors made a family of engines in various displacements. This one has a 4-cylinder General Motors diesel. Larger buses.
4-cylinder?
4-cylinder.
That would have to be probably the most awesome 4-cylinder engine I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, the engine family is known as the 71 series, indicating 71 cubic inches per cylinder.
Tell us about the history of this particular bus. Where did it do service, Ron?
Okay, this bus actually was delivered new to Missouri Pacific Trailways, and they operated out of St. Louis, Missouri.
How long was this bus in service for?
Probably, I would say, from 1945 when it was built to probably the early 60s.
So how did you guys find it? Where was it?
Well, actually, this bus belonged to a private bus collector who was also our first president, and he had a private collection of buses, and he donated 6 of them to the museum here in 1997, and this is one of them.
Okay, this is a fancy looking bus. What have we got going on here, Ron?
Well, Fletch, this is one of our flagships. This is a 1955 General Motors transit bus.
Gee, General Motors, they played a big part, didn't they?
Yes, they did. At one point, they had over 95% of the bus market in the United States, not only for city type or transit buses, but inner city or like Greyhound long distance buses as well.
But they've built a fantastic engine, didn't they?
They built a fantastic engine. They built a fantastic bus, which I will be glad to describe to you their advantage, and they pretty much dominated the market.
Okay, so General Motors just didn't do the rolling chassis and the engine. Did they build the body as well?
Yes, they did.
Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Now, tell us the story on this old girl behind us.
Okay, this is a 1955 General Motors transit bus, and it is painted in its original livery of Peerless Stages. Peerless Stages was one of the oldest operating companies in the United States. They dated back to 1917, and they ceased business in 2003.
Not a lot of changes, for example, between the last bus of 1945 to 55, subtle changes?
Well, actually, there were quite a few changes, as we will see in some of our other buses. But particularly after World War II, there was a big effort on by General Motors to enlarge and make more efficient inner-city type buses as well as city-type buses. And we will see an example of that, like this bus for city bus use, as well as long distance travel as well. It's quite a bit of change.
All right, so we've got a 6-cylinder engine here.
Yes.
Wow.
And what is unique about this bus is most city buses had hydromatic or simply automatic transmissions. There were 2-speed transmissions, and this bus has a 4-speed mechanical transmission, kind of a rarity for a city bus.
Okay, so people back in the day, 1955, fairly comfortable, were they? I mean, if they were in this bus, they would have felt quite okay?
Yes. Some of the advancements that took place after World War II, probably the biggest, was the development of air ride. We eliminated the leaf springs, produced a much smoother ride, and this was accomplished by rolling lobe bellows or balloons, whatever you want to call them. There were 2 on each. There were actually 4 on the front axle and 4 on the rear axle, 2 on each side.
I mean, General Motors was always big on that with their suspension, obviously following through later on with their passenger cars as well, with 4 coil springs instead of the leaf springs.
Yeah, in 1958, General Motors did offer as an option on Buick automobiles the air suspension ride.
Are you a motoring enthusiast? Does your current insurer understand your passion? At Shannons, we're motoring enthusiasts, just like you. We understand the passion you have for your special car or bike. But did you know that Shannons will also insure your daily drive, the car you drive every day? So if you're a motoring enthusiast, you've got to be with Shannons. So call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
And if you own yourself a Classic, it just has to be insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And if you haven't checked out the Shannons Club yet, there is hours of entertainment there awaiting you. Shannons' own productions such as Shannons Club TV, Driven, End of an Era, and there's also over 300 episodes of Classic Restos awaiting you there as well. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. In 2020, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2020 Detroit tour with Fletch. When you travel, you meet people, and often you meet some of the best. Wes Myrick, a gentleman from Michigan, United States of America, became everyone's favourite after he featured a couple of times on Classic Restos. At time of filming, Wes was almost 100 years of age, and you may know that Wes has since passed. But a classic car guy to the bone, such as Wes, will never be forgotten. Today's show is about a guy, his sheds and his cars. And when it comes to classic Americana and a representing individual, things don't get more classical than this. Meet Wes Myrick. I met Wes about 3 years ago and it was an absolute delight. Wes was born 1924 and at 92 years of young, Wes is nothing short of remarkable and in height either. Wes would be one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Wes has 60 grandchildren and he knows this because he gives each one $100 a year for birthdays and Christmas, and he spends $6 grand every time he does it. Wes was 14 when he bought his first car. It was a 1931 Chevy Coupe. The year of purchase was 1938 and Wes paid $15 for it. Wes grew up without a father, and at a young age Wes took care of his own hobbies, and hence the beginning of collecting any automobile memorabilia that he could find. Wes likes all brands of cars with no particular favourites. If they were built in the 1930s, well, he loves those. Wes once had around 100 cars at one time, nowadays reduced to a mere 35. Wes is known and loved by many around here. He ran a service station in town for over 40 years and he retired in 1988. The secrets to his longevity are eating meat, no vegetables, enjoying hamburgers and drinking whiskey. Wes is that lovable, take it easy, country kind of guy, and I have the utmost respect and pleasure in devoting an episode of Classic Restos especially to him. Here he is, the man himself. How you doing, Wes?
I'm doing good, Fletch.
You haven't changed in the last few years. You haven't changed one bit.
Is that good?
Of course it is.
Okay.
Yeah. He's as sharp as a tack.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wes, thanks for having us here today.
Well, it's a pleasure. I like your smiling face and the way you comb your hair. That makes a difference.
He's full of compliments, you know, and I tend to lap it up because you don't get those sort of compliments everywhere you do the TV show, Wes.
Well, I believe that. Yeah.
Now, look, we're going to start today's show with this very original car. You've got this 1970 Lincoln, a Mark III. It's an unrestored car. It's as is from 1970. How long have you had it? What's the story?
Well, I went to a swap meet in the middle of the winter down in Kalamazoo, and I already had two of these. I had a white one and a blue one, but I didn't like the white and I didn't like the blue. And then this black one, it was about 20 below zero, and I saw it on a trailer, and there was a bunch of people standing around it, and I grabbed the guy that owned it, and I said, what do you want for that car? And he told me, and I said, well, I'll make an offer. I don't remember what it was now. So within 2 minutes, I'd say, I bought the car. I gave him a deposit left. Yeah. And so that's how long it took me to buy it. Yeah. And then the next day was the same kind of weather, 20 below zero or something.
You like those days, don't you, Wes?
Yeah, I like them all right. But anyway, it was funny because I called him up, and he said he'd meet me at a shopping center on the north side of Kalamazoo. And so we got there, and I got out of the car, and I handed him the money, and he handed me the title, and he started to take the license plate off the back. I said, well, I needed to get home. And so he took the license plate off. And that whole episode probably took less than 10 minutes, about 5 minutes probably. So that's the amount of time it took me to buy this car.
Wow. I mean,
that's a true story.
When you get them like this is the way to get them, because nothing's been tarted up. I mean, sure, there's some splits in the paint now. There's some crays. The interior needs a clean up. But this is what it's all about, finding a car like this, totally original. The interior of this car is amazing. There's a bit of mold here and there, and that's what happens over here with the high humidity over here in the east. That comes off okay, but there's no splits anywhere or cracks in the leather. The back is perfection. You look around the back seat, it really does have a fantastic interior, this car.
Yeah, and that surprises me because you usually don't see that. If it was in the north here, sometimes in the wintertime, we just set on the leather and it'll crack or something like that. So, yeah. And not only that, a lot of times in the south, too, the interiors are all faded and burned up from the sun. Yeah, so I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's obviously had a life prior to yourself. I mean, you've had it in a garage, too. But I think that the Lincoln interiors, I mean, they're all right across the big three. They're all beautiful at this sort of level of car. But I believe that the Lincoln interiors, they're really something, aren't they?
This is a quality automobile. I mean, and you ever driven one of them?
Yeah, a few.
Oh well, then you know. It's a luxury liner.
My word.
It was love at first sight.
She doesn't get much more heart-stirring than that, does it?
Yeah. That's right, yeah. I can't remember how old, but I've always been fascinated by cars. Cars have meant the world to me outside of my family and my friends, and I'm so fascinated, and that's why I have such a, I guess, eclectic collection, because there's something special and wonderful about every one that I've owned. I guess that's what keeps pushing me all the time. If you love what you're doing, it makes life so exciting. Everything about the hobby is fun. It's fun to buy them. It's fun to share them with people, and it's fun to drive. Everything about them. It's not like a boat. When you get rid of a boat, they say that's a happy day when you buy it and a happy day when you get rid of it. But cars are not like that. You fall in love and it's forever. And even though you don't have them anymore, Still have a lot of wonderful memories. I love the cars and I love all the people that I've met. It's been a wonderful life, and I've always said happiness is a full tank of gas.
Design to Driveway, Volume 3 and Volume 4 are available now through Shannons. There's limited numbers. Make sure you acquire your copy. 143 pages in each book, styling Australia's cars. Fantastic information right here. Get yourself a copy today, shannons.com.au. Hare & Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools, sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare & Forbes has the range.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing them. If you're into rods or customs, you'll know what I mean. It's all about passion, purity, and soul.
Customs and hot rods like the SoCal Roadster is what we do.
And insurance for cars like ours is what Shannons do.
Rods, customs, and even your daily drive. Call Shannons on 134646.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like us.
Detroit, oh yeah, I love the place. It's one of my favourites. What is there not to love about Detroit? It's the epicentre for automotive history, music, sport, culture. The whole vibe of Detroit is alive. It's a magnificent place to go to. We have a fantastic database there of contacts, and one afternoon we had the opportunity to go and meet Adam from Mobsteel. And this whole mob thing, the building that he runs his business out of, is incredible. We went there with a local, and we pulled up outside the building, and we appreciated the fact that we were with a local. It's the sort of place you think, we can't go in there. But we did, and inside, that comes alive as well, with what Adam and his team have done there at Mobsteel. And it's homegrown stuff too to Detroit. It's local manufacturing. I'm a massive advocate of that. I think that that's marvellous. What Adam and his team have done inside that building and the products that they churn out, it is just absolutely unbelievable. And Adam himself, what a really cool guy. As you know, our classic vehicle hobby over time has exploded. This propulsive interest amongst enthusiasts comprises original, restored, and then there is the next level, and that is custom. Body fabricators, well, they're craftsmen. The finished products are works of art. And there's one place in Detroit that can take your ride to the next dimension. So if you're looking for some real appeal, welcome to Mobsteel. This is Mobsteel, a design and a build company that manufactures automotive aftermarket products and builds custom cars while celebrating the history of the automobile and one of the most iconic places on earth, the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. These guys start with Detroit's finest vintage cars and turn them into modern-day menacing street machines. There is no level of creation here, just your imagination. The cars built are not just cars. These cars are a part of American history. Vintage Detroit steel, not some fiberglass reproduction. Steel with a soul and a story. The blood, sweat and tears of family and friends are in the motors, the frames and the bodies of these cars. At Mobsteel, everything is taken to the next level.
Fletch, welcome to Mobsteel. It's always nice to have friends visit, especially from another country. We're really proud of what we got cooking here. You know, we grew up in the automotive industry. We're a product of our environment like everybody else around here. And, you know, we have fun with these cars. We're very fortunate that we get to come in here and work on these great cars that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And most of all, we get to celebrate those cars and the people that built them and really what shaped us. So, you know, when Mob Steel got started, essentially we were just a hot rod shop. So we would have a customer bring in a car, and they would have, you know, some sort of an idea what they wanted to do to it, and we would fix up the car for them, you know, whether it was air ride or painting or, you know, whatever they wanted. And we were essentially just a basic hot rod shop. But then as Mob Steel grew and became its brand, you know, we started to be able to build the cars we wanted to build, and that's really what gave us our identity. We were into the big body cars, the Lincolns and big Caddies and stuff like that, which at the time wasn't very attractive. But we built a lot of those cars, and it really kind of created the Mob Steel brand. And then eventually we had people coming to us and just saying they wanted a Mob Steel car. So it got really exciting. We had customers that were athletes and entertainers, and our cars reached a whole new level. We had guys coming into work for us like Ron and Doug and everybody else that's here right now, and guys in the past that were incredible craftsmen. And our product really became the sum of its parts. So, you know, we continued to make, you know, better and better and better vehicles. And that was really exciting for Mob Steel. Our brand started to grow, our customer base started to grow, and then eventually we started getting involved in corporate stuff. You know, next thing I know, we found ourselves building cars for Ford Motor Company and FedEx and all these other big companies because we had an audience. And we started to really design and build some pretty neat stuff. We had the opportunity to start a wheel company, Detroit Steel Wheel Company. Our mission was to actually manufacture a wheel here domestically in the US. It became a lot more difficult of a task than I anticipated. It wasn't the concept or the timing or building a quality product or even finding a customer. The challenge actually became manufacturing it, not only here in Michigan, but just in the US. You know, it was unbelievable that, you know, our challenge went from, you know, can we launch a product and can we sell this, to can we even make it here? So that really opened our eyes to a major problem that we've experienced here in Michigan, and then eventually it spread throughout the country, was the fact that we really don't manufacture much here anymore. So, you know, I don't know if we're going to make a massive change, but we stuck to our mission of celebrating, you know, the American automotive industry, the workers, the suppliers, the big three, and we stuck to that, and we decided that we were going to make that product here in the U.S. And, you know, it's been a great experience. Now that brand is shipped all over the world. You know, we manufacture wheels here. We have great suppliers throughout the U.S. We've tapped all of them out. We're on back order constantly. It's a very exciting thing to see happen. And most of all, we're making it here. And we're getting to share that with people everywhere from Estonia, Dubai, Australia, England, Norway. I don't think there's South Africa, Qatar. We ship product every week all over the world. So it's exciting to see that transition from growing up in, you know, basically I worked in plants and factories that built car parts to go on the cars, to the economy crashing, and then I decided just to play with cars. If I'm going to be broke, I'm going to be broke and happy, and I'm going to build cars and enjoy what I do. And then to get back to manufacturing, something I know very well from growing up and being able to create a product that doesn't exist and share that with the world right here out of Detroit, it's been unbelievable.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this best-of episode of Classic Restos, featuring just some of the Pacific Bus Museum near San Francisco, our great mate Wes Myrick, and Adam from Mob Steel. As I say at the end of every episode, until next week, no matter where you're watching the show from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club, Pace Farm the Enjoyable Egg, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and GUNLAKE Quarries.